right, kids. Unhappy Tuesday. Coming to you live from the 215 to the 513. This is Green Legion Radio's Unhappy and the MP. We thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service and device you're using to stream us. We say it every week. We're back up on Facebook. We're back up on X, but always pushing the YouTube channel. So we thank you from wherever you are. So please pull up a chair. Turn up the volume if I'm not quite loud enough. Use the company dime if, God forbid, you're still stuck at work. Crack open a cold one if that's your thing on a Tuesday night. It is not mine. This is fucking coffee. And let's try to have some fun as we put an end to day 2 of this week's hostage situation. Look forward to tomorrow being NFL Draft Eve. That's the theme tonight, folks. In case you've been living under a rock and you couldn't quite keep up, yes, the NFL Draft will start Thursday night, 8 p.m. with round 1. So for those of you that are 9 to 5ers, daytime hours like myself, I know, Mason, yours is kind of all over the place sometimes, but I suggest if you're of my age or older or somewhere in the vicinity, get home from work, take a nap on Thursday so you can stay up for all the Thursday night festivities. Remember, folks, the birds do not pick until number 23. What? Yeah. Why do you choose to open a bottle of wine 3 feet from my fucking head? I'm done. Right. So, like I said, crack open the cold one. Michelle's just going to pop open a bottle of wine and throw a straw in it. This is how she rolls on a Tuesday, folks. No judging. Who's in the room over here? Who do we got? Keenan, Tuesdays suck almost as much as Mondays. Yes, they do. Tuesday is Monday's like little brother or evil twin. Perfect. From the peanut gallery back there. Russ Taylor, let's give a shout out to the ladies and cheerleaders. We'll get to that in a moment, as you are well aware. Scott Calcaterra in the room. What up? How's it going, brother? Keenan David Loeb, love cheerleaders in Green Legion. So let's talk about the draft, and that's where we're headed, sir. And nice cup. So these cups, Fly Eagles Fly. These the back porch buys these, and we use them for the draft specials on game day. So it's actually pretty fucking awesome. And thanks to my wife who chooses to drink the draft beer, we have like a whole redneck collection in the cabinet, literally right behind my head over here. There's got to be at least 20 or 30 of them in there. I'm like, okay, that's it. We're done. No more. Jason Chadha, how's it going? When is this AJ Brown crap gonna end? From Vancouver. All right. Well, and we've crossed the border, Mason. We are now north of the border. We got a viewer in Vancouver.
We're conquering.
We're slowly but surely, right? All right, let's get the business shit out of the way here, and then we will get on to the draft. Quick show tonight. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of time, but we'll get at least the hour in. I know Mason's chopping at the bit to give his opinions. He wasn't able to join us last week. This week I've got the Friday night thing that we do every year for rounds 2 and 3, but I wanted to make sure the young man got in here and was able to give his opinion of everything too. So without further ado, and probably why she just popped the bottle of wine, everyone, Michelle's favorite part of the show, we are proudly sponsored by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Just minutes away from the sports complex, Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open 7 days a week from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Also offering free parking, a full menu, daily drink and food specials, and a premium selection of cigars and a cigar lounge. If you're looking for a place to watch the game, can't get out for playoff tickets for the Flyers, can't get out for playoff tickets for the Sixers, can't figure out how to get to the bank, why not head over to Cheerleaders and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Once again, folks, that's Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philly. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Bottom of your screen, folks. As always, greenlegion.com. Coming down to it. So we've got less than a month before the schedule gets released, when everything will start to lock into place. If you haven't signed up already and there's a trip you'd like to go on, I highly recommend you get your ass in there and get that taken care of as soon as possible. We've got some great destinations on the bird schedule for the 2026 season. We are at Nashville. We are at Jacksonville. We are at San Francisco. We are at Arizona. We are at Chicago. We are in Dallas every year. I don't think you can go over. The only one I don't really have any experience with, well, I haven't been to Frisco, but that one, there's a vineyard day and all of that shit along with it. So, and you don't have to be in Philly to go on any of these trips. You can self-travel, but flights are an option for an additional charge if you are in the Philadelphia area and you prefer for the Green Legion to just handle it all for you. But head on over to greenlegion.com, trips and tailgates, away games, find the game you want to go on. If it's not sold out, folks, get your ass in gear. I am going to Nashville, provided that the date works out for the, when the schedule gets released. The Jacksonville game, I'd be careful a little bit. That one, we may end up in London. I'm just saying. So we'll see.
Would it be the first time?
Would not be the first time. Jason again here. You know what? As long as Dallas fucks their picks, I'm sure they will. And of course, some of their players get arrested every year as usual. I'm happy. Well played, sir. Well played. Love it. Keenan, Mrs. Gilmore, is it a Chardonnay or Pinot Noir?
Cabernet.
It's a Cabernet. Whatever. There's your Michelle update. As far as the Grady front, I know some of you guys follow that. He is in the middle of week 2 of the airborne training program. As long as all the boxes keep getting checked, he will finish that program, graduate from that program a week from Friday, May 1st. So in that case, I will be on the road heading down there on the 30th because from what I understand, that graduation, I actually get to pin the wings on his uniform. That's the rumor right now. So if you think I'm missing out on that job or whatever, be damned. You can all kiss my whole white ass. I will be there. Yeah, he's doing well. The kid the other soldier that went with him from Fort Meade down to Fort Benning, 3 days into the training actually quit. So what happens with the Army is when you quit at a certain, wherever you're at, whether it's basic training or whatever, you end up having to stay there and watch your class graduate, and then they figure out what to do with you. So you sign a contract. You sign a 4-year contract, and that's it. That's the way it goes. Grady was not thrilled about it, but, different strokes for different folks. A lot of running going on down there from what I understand. They want the endurance up and the leg strength up. Makes sense. You're jumping out of airplanes. You got to be able to withstand the impact of the ground, right? Hey, Andy Bagley, what's up, boys? How we doing? All right, let's get down to it. So, a couple of weeks ago, Mason and I were on here, and we were done with the A.J. Brown saga. We're just done with it, right? Like, okay, we don't want to talk about this anymore. We'll revisit again in June, yada, yada, yada. And then Schefter does what he does, and here we go again, right? That it is, it basically, Schefter reports it, and then everybody and their grandmother is all over it, making it sound like this is a done deal, right? Like it's done, it's over with. He's going to be out post June 1st. I don't know how that works as far as trade value and what can be done if you're not allowed to accrue any of those assets prior to the actual trade, or if it has to wait until the trade happens and then you get 2027 picks, whatever. You guys, you all know my stance. Mason knows my stance. My stance is, and it's something that none of us will ever know, right? Unless he is actually a locker room cancer, disease, whatever the hell you want to call it. Anything short of that, you are in your championship window and you cannot replace a wide receiver of his talent, and you should not trade him. I am not an advocate of it unless he is literally tearing the locker room apart. marry that up with the article about Jalen Hurts that we had to deal with. And I'm not so sure who's actually tearing the locker room apart anymore. I'm a little concerned that this is a long COVID version of Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb.
Oh, COVID's crazy.
But here we are again, and AJ's the topic again, and I am tired of it. I'm done. I'm sick of it. I've had enough. I don't know how much you want to elaborate on this, Mason. I don't care to. I was furious when I saw that. I saw it instantly as soon as Schefter posted it. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, we're back to this again right before the draft again. You guys know my stance. Unless you're tearing your locker room apart, you don't trade a guy like that in your championship window. That's my stance.
Yeah, as much as we want to kind of move past and mature beyond the A.J. Brown rumors, of course, this is Philly sports, and so we're not allowed to have nice things. That being said, as we kind of inch closer to the draft, we inch closer to June 1st. It feels like June 1st has always been like 3 months away. And then I was reading the article and it says, well, it's only like 6 weeks away. And I'm like, 6 weeks?
It's close.
Already? That's nuts. Anyway, listen, AJ had always been tied. An AJ move had always been tied to around the draft. So as we inch closer to the draft, you're going to see drips and drabs and leaks of this is heating up. This is a real thing. This is likely to happen. Happens every year. What I will say is that it is increasingly interesting to me how over the weeks and even months as free agency started, we've kind of built up a lot of our receiving core. And it's not like we're filling the room up with guys who are making 3 to 5 million. It's guys who are making 10 plus, which is interesting because you don't pay a fifth guy $10 million. You just don't. We acquired Hollywood Brown. We acquired Elijah Moore. And then we acquired I think it's Wicks from Green Bay. That is a 1, 2, and 3 potential. Now, I'm not saying that that's how they're going to play, but you just replenish a whole slate of receivers right there, and you still have Brown, Darius Cooper, and of course AJ Brown. And so seeing those guys being acquired, it makes there a little bit too much commotion, a little bit too many cooks in the kitchen for the receiving core potentially, which has fueled these rumors. Of course, we've said it before, and I'll say it again. If the Birds were to go ahead and move A.J. Brown prior to June 1st, they'd have to get a king's ransom because the amount of dead cat that we're hitting or that we're going to have to eat is monumental. So, should a team want A.J. Brown on Thursday or whatever, they're going to have to pay us at least 2 first-round picks. I'm saying at least. Because we're going to have to eat tens of millions in dead cat.
If this goes before June 1st. Yeah.
June 1st. If it's after June 1st, we actually save a bit of money and it makes a little bit more sense. And so I think that the odds of a Thursday trade or even pre-June 1st trade is still relatively slim. But the way this roster is constructed and the way the cap is going to manifest, a post-June 1st trade is very likely.
It feels inevitable now. And, whether it's obviously, and we've beaten this to death, the two of us, as well as everybody else. The unfortunate thing now is this is not just a Philly sports media being douchebag Philly sports media, right? Now you have Adam Schefter that's breaking it, right? Like you got once it gets to that level, you kind of feel like it gives you more of a feel that this is a done deal. What I would say is I'm still going to go, if I'm the Birds, I'm still going back to that Jalen Waddle trade. And I'm sorry, but if Jalen Waddle is bringing you back a first and a third, A.J. Brown has to be a first and a second at the absolute minimum. Right. And I don't care if it's pre or post June 1st, unless you truly just feel like you need to unload him.
Right.
But I'm not giving him away. Fuck off. The guy is way too talented. Or is this just who AJ is? Remember when we traded for him, he had kind of worn out his welcome in Tennessee after just a couple of seasons, bitching about money and all that stuff. And now here he is 4 years later, and we're kind of right back in the same boat again with him. Money not so much the object this time, but you just don't know what exactly is going on behind the scenes. And like I said, we're not going to know. Nor should we, to be perfectly honest with you. I would prefer teammates don't discuss that. I like that there's a wall, right? That fans and idiots like us, we don't have that exposure, right? There should be some things that are, quote unquote sacred, where the rest of the world doesn't know what's going on behind those closed doors. But again, I don't look. I love Devontae Smith. I've been on record for a few years now as saying he is the most skilled wide receiver on the roster, as far as just a skill set standpoint as a wide receiver. The problem is, if you make him your number one, you better have a number two that is a big body that can be the possession guy. Because the one thing Devontae's not going to do is he's not going to outmuscle a whole bunch of people for footballs, right? A.J. Brown can do that and does that. There are some deeper stats that would tell you A.J. may have lost a step. You can look at, it's like average yards of separation, where it dropped from like 3 point something down to 1 point something this past year. Everybody wants to blame that on Patullo's play calling. Maybe he has lost a step, or maybe it's just lack of motivation. Either way, it does feel like he is. It feels like he's out the door. I still think it's post June 1st, but I feel like he's out the door. If they trade him pre-draft, like to get picks for this year,
yeah,
you're going to have to ask for a king's ransom. Yeah, you're talking a pick swap with somebody way up there. And it's the Patriots is the only team you hear about. And, New England doesn't pick until, where the hell are they? They're 31, right?
31,
yeah. I'm sorry. That's not a straight up pick swap for me. That's too low. That's basically a second round pick at this point. That's not enough. I'm going to need way more than that. I don't know. I'm willing to just sit back and let whatever the hell happens with AJ happens with AJ at this point. We've beaten this to death. What I will tell you about the draft, thing that pisses me off, is our two most hated, right? Dallas and New York. They both have 2 first-round picks. New York, 2 in the top 10. I get it. They've screwed it up in the past, but they've also not had John Harbaugh in the past either.
Yeah.
Albeit Harbaugh, this will be the first draft that he's running. He's always had the benefit of like an Ozzie Newsome or somebody like that to kind of handle that, right? But, you really have to try to screw this up to screw up the number 5 and number 10 pick in the draft. I mean, if you draft a quarterback, you're a moron, right?
No, yeah.
Number 5 and number 10, I mean, you've got to, they've got a real chance to develop, to bolster that roster. And I don't like it because they did some of that last year. And now they've got even more capital to play with, where it's going to be cheap capital for them for the first 4 years, whatever. I don't care for it at all. I don't like that Dallas has 2 first-round picks. And if you look at it that way, maybe it's something where Howie tries to keep up with the Joneses. It's not usually his MO. But maybe he feels like he needs to get, a little bit younger as well. And trades AJ, takes the cap hit, and just says, fuck it, next year it's not going to hurt me as bad. I don't know. The Giants trading what's his name?
Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals. So 2 sides to this. First and foremost, I'm pissed at Cincinnati for giving them the 10th pick. Let's just start there. I don't want the Giants having 2 first-round picks. Would you agree with that, Mason?
I don't want anybody having more than 1 first-round pick other than us.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Perfect. But the other side to this is when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and I know this because I live here, and I've lived here for the most part for the last 20 years. They're a very frugal organization. Right? They're cheap. They just don't spend. And one of the areas where they really skimp on is scouting. we all praise Howie Roseman for what he's able to do and how many draft picks he's nailing over the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he has a huge staff of people that are helping with this. The deeper scouting, just the multitude of resources that he's got available to him because he's got an owner that will just open the freaking wallet and go after it. That doesn't happen here in Cincinnati. And ergo, outside of Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and Burrow and Jamar Chase were, everyone knew they were going to be good. Outside of those guys, the Bengals generally screw up their draft picks. They just do. And a lot of that is because they don't have the resources to go out and actually see what these kids are all about. So when you look at it from a Bengals perspective, there's a lot of people around here killing the Bengals for trading the number. Oh, it's the number 10 pick. He's 28 years old, blah, blah, blah. Well, hold on here, guys. You extended the contract by 1 more year, right? And so you've got him for 3. And he's a proven NFL commodity. This is something that you, Cincinnati Bengal fans, your organization has not been good at finding guys that turn into good NFL commodities, right? Outside of a Burrow, Jamar Chase, and, they hit on a guy here and there. So making that trade makes a ton of sense from a Bengals perspective. Why take the number 10 pick on a guy that nobody knows is actually going to pan out? You think he's going to because he's the 10th pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have the resources to really do the deep dive. When you can go take that 10th pick straight up and just bring this dude in, flip him 1 more year, a little extra cash, and now you've got it. The call out, Dexter Lawrence is part of the Giants' front 4. Good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to use this as a way to say Dexter Lawrence. It's not the MO here. What I'm saying is the Giants get after the quarterback. Their front is good, right? That was the strongest point of their team. So is Dexter Lawrence capable of anchoring a defensive line that is in desperate need of it, devoid of talent around him? Is he capable of that? Or was he a guy that was a good player that looked exponentially better because he had other talent around him? That's the 2 ways I would look at the trade.
Yeah, and I think that your point surrounding the kind of team building strategy or philosophy behind the Bengals is actually something that's broadly kind of, you see it manifest in different ways across the league. But for a team like Cincinnati to go ahead and do this, I think is actually very insightful and actually very wise of them to do. A mistake that too many teams make is that they think that they have to do things a certain way, no matter if it works or doesn't work. So the traditional way you build a team is to kind of, you draft. The 80% of the team is draft, and then you try to kind of fill in the smaller spots. Maybe you do trade. Maybe you do a blockbuster trade to kind of get a big chunk of it, and then you draft the rest of the guys. But not every team is equally good at drafting, just plain out. And also, not every team is good at trading. So for a team to understand where their strengths and weaknesses lie, it's a really good way to effectively and efficiently build a team. So seeing the Bengals kind of do this, as you said, they don't have the greatest track record with drafting.
It's an understatement of the fucking century right there.
Another team that actually didn't have the best track record with drafting was actually Bill Belichick with the Patriots. And he only hit on a few guys, but
he was not great at it.
Tell me a decent first round pick the Patriots had in the whole 2010s.
No, he went through free agency was his thing. Was Belichick's thing. He did not do well, and he didn't do well at developing offensive talent either.
So you have to know your strengths, your weaknesses. You don't want to lie to yourself either. And so we're lucky that Howie made some pretty rough decisions early on, but has since kind of learned from his ways. And very luckily we are, that is. And so Howie's found his thing, and other teams build in other ways. And so this is kind of like the market of the league working, and I think it's really cool to see it happen. kind of live like this. So
it's the only good thing that came from the Chip Kelly era is what we get from Howie now. He had to learn, right? It helped him grow. That's the only good part. That was the only good part of that whole fucking experience. Captain Deb's in the room. Where's he at? I clicked on the wrong one. Good evening, boys and group. Finally got in. What's up, my friend? Scott Calcatar. Lou Mancini. I'd like to go full Tanya Harding on AJ. Jesus Christ. Scott says, Lou, that's the Nancy Kerrigan 3 pieces meal at KFC.
oh
2 small breasts and a battered thigh.
Oh my God.
Yes, my man. Cap, soldier update. I gave it at the top of the show, but dude, I have no trouble doing it again. So before we move to the next phase of our draft talk here, once I'll recap for you, buddy. Grady, week 2 of airborne training down at Fort Benning in Georgia. And seems to be going well. He's got no complaints. I check on him every day. He says he's doing great. He says he loves it. A lot of running, a lot of building up the leg endurance and everything. As you know, I'm sure you know about Cap, but it should come as no surprise. You want your legs to be in the best shape that they can be in when you're going to have to withstand the impact of jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, right? Parachute, of course, but nobody's expecting him to perform a perfect landing without a chute. But just building all that up. He's doing really, really well. And provided he checks all the boxes, he will finish and graduate from that class on Friday, May 1st, which will have me heading down to Georgia. I said the 30th. It may be the evening, start the trip on the evening of the 29th, finish it up on the 30th, and then be there for him to graduate. From what I understand, I get to pin the wings on his uniform. So, like I told all these folks at the top of the show when we went over this, I said, if you think I'm missing that, job or otherwise, you can kiss my whole white ass. You better believe I'm going to be there. So, yeah, he's doing great, man. It's just we're very, very proud. And we got a nice cell phone plan discount due to the fact that he's a soldier and he's on our plan. So.
There you go.
Winning! Cap says blood wings. I'll have to text you later. You can describe that one to me, bud. Not sure what that is. Russ Taylor, when does his Delta training start? Chuck Norris is looking for his replacement. Yeah, I'm not sure Grady fits those shoes, buddy. I don't see Grady giving a whole lot of roundhouse kicks to people. But yeah, that's the update. Not a whole lot there, but just status quo, stay the course, and keep checking all the boxes and doing what he needs to do to get on with his career. And then I think it could be immediate after his graduation, or it could be the following Monday, where they are going to send him up to his first job assignment, and that is at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. So that's the plan, bud. That's where we're at. Back to the draft, bud. I like it from a Bengals perspective with the trade. I think they made a smart move. I really do, because they're not good at this. They're just not. Like I said, drafting Joe Burrow was a no-brainer, right? This is a guy who came off a season where he threw 60 touchdown passes in fucking college. That's insanity. He was easily the pick. Drafting Jamar Chase, especially once you already had Joe Burrow, also a no-brainer. So, those were layups, dude. There's not exactly a layup here. I don't feel like this is an incredibly, like an overall wickedly talented draft. Don't get me wrong. Not like it sucks. There's no slam. I don't even think there's a slam dunk at quarterback. I like Mendoza, but if he was in next year's draft, Heisman National Championship be damned, he may not be the first quarterback off the board. So, I think the Bengals made a very good choice. I just hate that they did it with the Giants. Because now the Giants have 2 picks in the top 10. That's my bugaboo over it.
No, and I think you're right. This is like a middle, meh kind of a draft. This certainly isn't going to be a 2011 or 2014 draft class. So I definitely see where you're coming from there. I think even 2018 was even that bad. So yeah, I don't see this being an extravagantly explosive draft class. Like you said, I don't even consider Fernando. If you end up ranking Fernando in for the 20s, and when we get to 2030s, if you want to rank like all the quarterbacks taken in the first round in this decade, I don't think Fernando is going to be beyond maybe it might be middling around average, maybe even below average compared to the other quarterbacks that are taken. So
I mean, I'd like to
not
think
saying
he's
he's
going
a
to be
scrub
above
or anything,
average.
but
Right. I'd like to think he's going to be above average even with that group. And that's just because I like the kid, right? I think he's a solid background.
sure.
I love the fact that, the first thing he did, and I talked a lot about Mendoza last week. I kept it pretty much to just the Raiders thing last week. Just to keep it from doing a whole lot of else until we were both here. Solid upbringing. One of the things he did when he first transferred to IU was he went to the staff and he wanted a player profile. He wanted a picture and a bio on every single one of his teammates so that he could learn about them and be able to, introduce himself and talk. And that's leadership qualities you can't teach to a young man like that. This is just something that's ingrained in him. And, I just think he's a good kid and I want him to succeed. But good God, it is the Raiders, dude. And who the fuck knows? I mean, they are, everybody laughs at the Jets. The Raiders are a disaster too. But so I don't know how you wanted to handle this. I've got kind of an idea of what I think the first round will look like. I always look at it devoid of trades, right?
Sure.
I'm going to take trades off the table. And where do you think guys are going to go if everyone just uses their spot? Obviously, I've got Fernando Mendoza going number 1. The Raiders would have to prove to be absolutely galactically freaking stupid to not go that way. And I talked about that last week too. It's like it's not just about the fact that you need the quarterback and Mendoza is the best of this class. It's also your job survival as a general manager. Where if you were to take Ty Simpson and he ends up average at best and Mendoza goes somewhere else and explodes, you're fired, right? You are fired. But if you take Mendoza and he doesn't pan out, you're not going to go throw anybody under the bus, but you've also got a rookie head coach in Kubiak and, his staff that, a little bit inexperienced that you can fall back on and be like, hey, I took the guy that everybody, everybody on the planet says this is the number 1 pick, especially because we needed a quarterback. It's not my fault he didn't plan out. I mean, where's the development, right? Some of these picks go that way too, thinking about your own survival. And for all of those reasons, Mendoza's got to be number 1. It just has to.
Yeah, I'm not going to debate you on that one. It's pretty consensus first overall. I kind of missed the days where it was contentious, I missed the days where it's like the first overall pick wasn't so known. But now I feel like for the past couple of drafts, it's been like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to be this guy. So, but yeah, Fernando is definitely going to go number 1 there.
Yeah. Number 2, the Jets. I've got him taking Arvell Reese, linebacker, Ohio State. This is also the Jets we're talking about here. Who the hell knows? But if they're smart, it's a position of need. The kid is incredibly talented. Could they take a Sonny Styles instead? Sure, it's still a linebacker. There's not that much separation, I think, between the two of them. I just feel like Reese is probably the number 1 linebacker on the board. And I think that, you also got a head coach that is defensive minded in Aaron Glenn. So I've got Arvell Reese, number 2 to the Jets. Linebacker, Ohio State.
Yeah, for the Jets, for me, this is a 1A, 1B type, or 2A, 2B, I guess you could say. It's either going to be Arvell Reese or it's going to be David Bailey. I think that it's so close. It really depends on what the general manager that day is feeling because he's going to have his pick of the litter. So just to kind of give it a little bit of a diversity here, I'll go with David Bailey just because I think, like I said, I think it's kind of interchangeable here. So yeah, I'm going to go David Bailey here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, nice edge rusher out of Texas Tech, right? I mean, that's nothing wrong with that pick either, man. I mean, you're in the top 10 here, right? You're in the top 5, right? Like, it's just, I don't think there's a wrong answer here unless you reach for something, which, I mean, it is the fucking Jets, so who knows?
Gotta be smart.
Keenan,
You're second overall. Hard to screw that up.
Keenan Harmon, galactically stupid is what one of my high school teachers called me. He sucked as an educator. Yeah, I can't imagine why. So number 3, now we get the Cardinals, right? And they need a lot of help, right?
Yeah.
They need help pretty much everywhere, which a lot of these teams in the top usually do. But when you look at a team that needs a ton of help, where is the most, the spot that's probably the safest to pick this high in the draft? And I would say it's an offensive tackle, right? And so here I've got, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but offensive tackle from Miami, Francis.
That guy?
Yeah, Magoa. He's an absolute monster, on the outside there. And again, regardless of who your quarterback's going to be, you've got to start building your team. And we all know the way we love how he does it from the trenches outward. If the Cardinals have a brain, they start doing it the same way. Again, I'm not looking at trades as this. This is just the teams who, if they pick right from their spot, who I think they'll go with. And this would be my pick if that was the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to split a lot of hairs here either. Of course, for the Cardinals, you lost a guy in Kyler Murray, so you don't really have a big name quarterback there, but it looks like Jacoby Brissett's going to put in, I guess he's going to try to exercise with a little leverage he kind of has, so I guess good luck to him. But yeah, generally, when teams don't really have a quarterback yet, that's absolutely really good. That's actually like the time that you want to invest in the trenches. And so for the sake of brevity here, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a tackle. And I think for the past couple weeks, there has been like 2 kind of tackles that are kind of close in terms of talent or the top tier. You have the Francis, and I think his name is Spencer Fano. Both of them have kind of been trading that first slot being taken there. But yeah, I think I'll just slot with you again here and probably go with Francis. Like I said, it's a good time to go ahead and start investing in the protection early. So when you get your eventual franchise quarterback, he's not protected by traffic cones.
Very good. Scott Calcaterra, MP mentioned the 2018 draft class, which had Sam Darnold, who took forever to develop, and then Josh Rosen, who flopped. And interestingly enough, tying into that Arizona thing, it was Arizona that took Josh Rosen, and the very next year in 2019, they took Kyler Murray with the number 1 overall pick. I was at that draft in Nashville.
I also remember the Giants taking Saquon Barkley, who's been okay. Josh Allen, who's panned out a little bit, and Lamar Jackson was the last pick of that draft. So I think that was.
That's right. Yeah, that turned out pretty well. I mean, regular season wise. Whatever.
We don't talk about that. Come on.
I take my shots where I can get them. All right, number 4 pick in the draft is the Tennessee Titans, who had a nicer close to their season than they did open. Cam Ward actually started to look more the part. They could definitely use some weapons here. Their backfield, kind of not exactly the who's who of running backs there. And, if they're looking to upgrade that spot, there is no other way to go than Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. Got to see him live in the Underwear Olympics, albeit at the at the combine. And what you look for there is, obviously, like I said, Underwear Olympics. They're just out there in shorts and warm-ups and shit, right? It's not full pads and contact and all that. But if you watch the way these guys move and how crisp they are in their routes, in their cuts, tracking the ball when it's in the air, very fluent stride, head not moving around too much, quick feet. He's as advertised, ran an excellent 40 time. I think this is where Tennessee's going. Might be the best offensive playmaker in the first round here, provided you can get him the ball enough. Yeah, Tennessee does have other problems. But I like Jeremiah Love going to the Titans here at number 4.
Yeah, so I'm taking a look over kind of who would be kind of available here. Jeremiah Love was like slotted here for a long time. I'm looking at the latest mock draft to see what other people kind of have. Jordan Reed has David Bailey going number 4 here. I don't agree with that. I think that you're right. I think when you have a guy like Cam Ward, his second half that year was great. It was
he played better.
We saw a lot of flashes as to why he was a first overall pick. And so at this point, it's all about not trying to rebuild, but trying to reload, and giving a guy some firepower is exactly how you do that. So I do like Jeremiah Love here, and it'll give, hopefully it'll give the run game a little bit of a spark, of a boost, and help Cam Ward kind of offset the offense.
Yeah, I like it. You line them up both in the backfield like that in kind of a RPO type offense. I think you can do some damage. Your dad's in the room. Go Birds. Giants stink and are stupid.
Concise. I love it.
Well said, sir.
What he said.
Speaking of those freaking Giants who now have 2 top 10 picks, this is the first of those 2 at number 5 overall. They just traded Dexter Lawrence, but they do still have a lot of solid talent on the defensive front. When you've got that level of talent on the defensive front, they think they have their quarterback. They know they have their weapon on the outside. They're probably going to look to add a running back to help in that backfield because Scatterbo's not really an every down back. Neither is Tyrone. Neither is Tracy. So I like them going defense here, and I like them adding to some help behind that front, but still in the front 7. I think this is linebacker Sonny Styles out of Ohio State, who put on a fucking show at that combine. And I don't want them to take him. Believe me, I want the Giants to draft a kicker here, okay? And then a punter at number 10. But we all know they're not that stupid. I think the Sonny Styles thing, if he's there, if he hasn't gone earlier, if the Jets took Styles instead of Reese, whatever, I think if Styles is there, it makes a whole lot of sense for the New York Giants at number 5.
Yeah, with the trade of Dexter Lawrence, you definitely have a little bit of a gap on the defensive line, and so you're going to have to generate the pressure somewhere else. I think you could see a defensive player here very easily. I could very easily slot David Bailey here and keep things moving. If you want to try and push someone else inside for some NASCAR action, it also helps a lot. I also kind of see a little bit of, because this is the Giants, a little bit of a curveball here. I can see them going offensive tackle here. I can see them trying to go with something maybe
they need it.
Maybe that's Spencer Fano to kind of just strengthen the pillars there, or even push inside if need be. So just because I think this is the Giants and they don't want to go ahead. I mean, listen, they're like you said before in the show, the defensive line is already stacked. And so if this was Harry Roseman, you might go ahead and go defense, maybe even David Bailey here. But I'm actually going to go maybe a little bit of a curveball here. Say that you have a new franchise quarterback and you already have Bam Scatterbo. You already have Malik Neighbors. And so maybe you want to go ahead and provide a little bit more protection. You can never protect your quarterback too much. And I'm going to go Spencer Fano here.
All right. Yeah. I mean, on the table, dude, they definitely need to protect Jackson Dart better. Jackson Dart also needs to learn how to protect himself better, too. He was a little bit – I think Harbaugh – unfortunately, and I don't want to talk well about the Giants here at all, but I unfortunately think that Harbaugh is going to have that kind of impact on that kid, right? Like, it felt like Daboll wasn't really reining him in, and Dart was taking a lot of shots to the head, dude. He was in that fucking tent, felt like every single week. So, yeah, I mean, the offensive line pick makes a lot of sense there, too. Now we move to number 6 with another team that has been Olympic caliber stupid when it comes to the draft. The mistake by the lake, the factory of sadness, the Cleveland Browns on the board at number 6. I think they stay in state. I think they believe one of those 97 quarterbacks they have, I think they believe one of those guys is their guy. And I think they want to give him a weapon. And I think they stay home. And I think they draft Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate at number 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ditto there. I don't think there's a lot of the talk here, especially since I already kind of used my Spencer Fano card. So in the first 5 picks, we already got rid of the first 2 tackles here. So I think the Browns might actually have their eyes on a tackle if one of them does slide. And so I think if one of those tackles does fall there, it's very much an option. But if both tackles are gone, I think that Carnell Tate is the slam dunk pick here. And I think it's the obvious one. So
Dev in the room. Dev says, what pick was Carson Wentz? He went number 2 overall that year. 2016 NFL draft. Number 2 overall. Number 1 that year was Jared Goff. Went to the Rams. So now we move to number 7, and it's another one of our foes here. The Deadskins or the Commodes or whatever the hell you want to call them, the Washington Red Football Manders. They are an incredibly aging defense. That team needs a shot in the arm of youth on that side of the ball really, really bad. And you've mentioned this guy a couple of times, but I think if he's there, I think this is where he goes. I think this is edge David Bailey out of Texas Tech. They need the edge. They need the youth. And, if I'm picking and this is the way it goes, this is where I've got – I don't think David Bailey gets past Washington. That's just my opinion. And the way I have it, I have him available. So I think Washington takes that kid out of Texas Tech.
I don't disagree with the position, but we did have it flipped earlier. So instead of David Bailey, the Washington Commodes are going to go with Arvell Reese.
Arvell Reese. Okay. I got it. Yeah. Again, I think they need the shot. I think the message is the same. Washington desperately needs youth on that side of the ball, without question. Number 8 is the New Orleans Saints, who is another team who had a better second half as Kellen Moore's influence started to take a little bit more effect there. Tyler Shuck looked a little bit better. If they could keep Chris Olave on the field, that would be helpful. They've also now got Alvin Kamara and who was the other running back that just signed there?
Oh, was it ETN? No, it wasn't ETN, was it?
ETN. Yeah, I think it's ETN. So nice tandem in the backfield there. If you can keep Olave on the field, it allows you to look at your defense, which also another team that needs desperate help there in one of the most important positions. Obviously, in this day and age, quarterback, protect the quarterback, and get after the quarterback. My friend Dave Conant would disagree. I talked to him earlier. He thinks this guy may fall all the way out of the first round. I think the Saints might take him right here. Miami edge rusher Ruben Bain Jr., who I think has all the makings of a fucking stud in this league, as long as he can, as long as he gets to the right spot. And I think the Saints might be a problem. Quietly be a problem for people next year. But I got Ruben Bain out of Miami going here to the Saints.
I don't really have the Saints being that responsible here. So far, I only have one receiver being taken off the board here, and I'm going to go ahead and make that 2. Looking at the other big name receivers on the board here, you can kind of go a lot of different ways here. I could definitely see, being that you do have Tyler Show there, and you don't have many options outside of Olave. I think you might see someone like Mekhi Lemon getting taken off the board here. You could also see maybe someone like Jordan Tyson, but for brevity, I'm going to go ahead and say Mekhi.
Mekhi Lemon, number 8 to the Saints. So now the Chiefs come on the board, and I think the Chiefs desperately want everyone to pass on Jeremiah Love. That's just my opinion. I think they are. It would not shock me if Jeremiah Love was sitting there at number 7 with Washington. It would not shock me if the Chiefs went up 2 spots, pick swapped, and gave a 3rd round or something like that. to try to move to that spot and make sure they got their guy. But again, we're not taking trades into effect. I've already got Jeremiah Love going to Tennessee. So where else could the Chiefs use some help? Defensive backfield. That secondary is on a little bit on the struggle bus here. Ohio State safety Caleb Downs makes a whole lot of sense to the Chiefs here, man. It just does. I don't like it because I don't ever want the Chiefs to get better, but this is a good pick for them from where I think they'll be from what's available at that point.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I definitely think that this is going to be a defensive push here. I think that a safety is kind of a more broader kind of a canopy or umbrella type pick. I think that the Chiefs might want to have a little bit more of a dedicated guy there, though. I'm feeling more of a corner in this situation, so I'm going to go with LSU corner Mansour Delane.
Not bad. Yeah, I looked at that too. They both make sense there. I think it's just a matter of who they value more. I think Downs is the better player, like overall, but where's the position in need most, corner or safety? So yeah, I mean either way. Now we come to number 10, and again the Giants on the board, and this is where I think they try to help their young quarterback a little bit more. Not so much with the offensive line. We all know they have Malik Neighbors. But they do need another guy on the outside. And Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson to the Giants here at number 10. So you look at a Giants team that snags what could be the best linebacker in the draft and one of the top few wide receivers in this draft as well. Jordan Tyson paired with Malik Neighbors is a problem. And you if you could get that kid to 1, 2, 3 shoot with those two guys on the outside,
sure,
your offensive line doesn't have to be better than average. And I think this is where the Giants go. I think they had a weapon.
I think a little bit earlier I had the Giants going ahead and picking a tackle to go ahead protect Mr. Jackson Dart. And so now that we went on the offensive side, I think now it's time to splurge a little bit and go on the defensive side. Of course, you trade Dexter Lawrence, and so defensive line is a blaring, or that hole right there that he once occupied is a blaring void. But I'm going to go and maybe throw a little bit of a curveball here and say that he's still on the board, and barring, like I said, there's no trades going on here, so there's no one jumping up to go ahead and snag this guy. So I'm going to go with linebacker, Ohio State linebacker, Sonny Styles here.
Sonny Styles down to number 10 in the draft. So you've got it flipped around. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a chance Sonny Styles gets to number 10. I think somebody, even if it's not the Giants at 5, I think somebody snatches him before that. Yeah, but if he is there, then makes a ton of sense. Number 11, Lou Dominguez, our buddy down there in Mr. 305. His Miami Dolphins on the board at number 11, who, again, another team that needs help all over the place. So you could see, this could be a spot where they trade out to get more picks to try to help in multiple areas. But if they're just going to stick here.
Trade out, yeah.
Yeah. If they're just going to stick here, which was kind of the theme here, one of their bigger needs would be corner on the outside on the defensive side of the ball. And this is where I looked at LSU's Mansour Delane to the Dolphins. He's the first corner I've got coming off the board, and if he's there and you're not going to trade out, why the hell not? You need the freaking help there for sure.
Yeah, so when it comes to the Dolphins, you have a lot of off-season trades. Of course, you trade Jalen Waddle away for a handful of picks, and so you do have that little bit of a gap there. And I think we both agreed that this is actually a prime candidate for a potential trade down here.
I do.
If a team is looking to see a certain player starting to fall, they want to go ahead and take advantage. But this is a no-trade draft, so I'm looking at the different kind of needs that the Dolphins have here. You have a receiver, corner. Joseph, fucking everyone. With that said, it does seem that we're just kind of shuffling around different guys here. So I'm going to go ahead and use I think it'll be my third receiver card and go Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson.
Jordan Tyson. Yep. There you go. Yeah, that would be your third wide receiver off the board. Obviously, Tate and you went Makai Lemon to I forget where you had them go.
Makai Lemon? I think I had him going to New Orleans.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, because of Olave not able to stay on the field.
That's right.
Number 12 is Dallas Sucks. And there's another team that desperately needs a corner. They can't cover anybody to save their fucking life. So I'll take my second corner off the board, Tennessee corner, Jermad McCoy. Another SEC talent. You guys kind of know my story here with this. If I'm picking in the first 3 rounds, I want it out of big-time programs, big-time conferences who are not only up against NFL-level talent during practice, but they face NFL-level talent week in and week out. A lot of these college programs run pro-style defenses when you get to that level of an SEC or Big Ten. You know, if I'm Dallas, I want a guy that fits that mold. Jermad McCoy from Tennessee fits that mold.
When I look at
Lord, they need a corner.
Well, when I look at the Cowboys, I see the exodus of Micah Parsons and the kind of impact in which that had. And I kind of look at around the team kind of holistically. This is a situation in which I could see the Cowboys trading up for someone like Sonny Styles, just to kind of maybe even recapture that Micah magic a little bit there, because they do kind of have the same athletic profile. But here, I'm going to say that Jerry Jones goes ahead and bites his nose or cuts his nose to his face. And he's going to go ahead and chase that pass rush again to kind of get that feeling back. And I think you might see someone like Miami edge Ruben Bain Jr.
You like Bain there? Yep. Could see it. Could definitely see it. We're all in the same ballpark here. Mishmashed around with picks. 13th overall is the Rams. They've got Puka Nacua. They got a nice their team is – I think they add a receiver here, though. You do have some questions on Nacua now, right? He's out of rehab now, but, you know, is he going to continue to be the Inglewood biter, or is he going to straighten up and fly right? And, you know, Sean McVay loves his offensive pieces. You had him going earlier. I like him here. USC wide receiver Makai Lemon.
Okay. Yeah, and I could definitely see a wide receiver going here as well, even though they do have pockets of other needs elsewhere. I'm going to go with someone who has a little bit of a kind of a similar athletic profile, but is a little bit further down the chart there. Because I already have a lot of the bigger guys going, I'm going to go ahead with my fourth receiver here and go Indiana receiver Omar Cooper Jr.
Wow, dude. 4 receivers in the top 13. Woof. That's a lot of wideouts, boy. Man. All right, moving on. Number 14 is the Baltimore Ravens. Mm-hmm. They've got to get stronger up front on the offensive side. Yes. They've got to be able to block better, especially as Lamar starts to age a little bit. They're going to have to help him a little bit more than maybe they've been used to doing in the past. And they want to open up some interior holes for an also aging Derrick Henry. Penn State guard, don't ask me how to say his name, but I watch Penn State religiously, and that kid is an absolute monster at the guard spot. I like this to Baltimore here. I would have liked it more as a definite thing if Harbaugh was still there. But I do think they recognize that this is a glaring need on both fronts. And I think Penn State guard, Vega, we'll go with that. That's his
there you go. Yeah, so taking a look at the Ravens here, of course, they do have those needs up front. And so for the sake of brevity here, I only had one tackle going so far this far. And so honestly, I kind of forgot about the top guy, the top dog. It's the Miami tackle, Francis, and I'm not even going to try his last name. Looking back at it, I could probably switch Francis for number 5 and then move Spencer down here just because I don't think Francis actually falls down this far. But for the sake of accuracy and sticking to the original game plan, I see the Ravens because he's still on the board here. Going with Miami tackle Francis. I think it's Moiga.
Malagoa, something like that.
Malagoa?
I'm not sure the exact pronunciation of that last name, but that's who I had the Cardinals taking at 3. Yeah, I got you.
Because yep.
Yeah, cool. Same guy. Number 15, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just lost Mike Evans.
Yep.
Massive shoes to fill. But I think at this point, your real top dog wide receivers, and I've got, 1, 2, 3 of them off the board already.
All right.
They could also use some help in the seam. They could use some help with a big target down in the red zone, goal line. This kid was off the charts athletically at the combine as well. Hasn't played football for an extreme amount of time, but Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq with Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball, I think presents a nice combination there when you couple with now Emeka Egbuka in his second season. I like Kenyon Sadiq here to Tampa Bay.
It's not a horrible rationale there. I'm looking over at the Buccaneers kind of profile here, and almost all but one of their needs are on the defensive side of the ball. But as you said, the absence of Mike Evans, leaves a big void at a certain kind of profile
skill set
of a skill set that is lacking on that roster now. And so to kind of encapsulate and kind of keep that kind of athletic kind of slot there, I'm going to go with my 5th and I think last one for a little bit here, receiver. I'm going to go Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston, a 6'4", 212.
6'4", 212 makes a lot of sense. Hard to replace 6'5", 230. That's for damn sure.
6'4".
Mike Evans is a freak. You're not going to be able to fully replace Mike Evans. The guy's a freak, right? 6'5", 230 pounds, 1,000 yards every year. You just mail it in. But yeah, he's an absolute spaz. You can't replace that easily. Halfway through the draft here, number 16 overall, we're back with the Jets on the board.
Yep.
I had them taking Arvell Reese, number 2 overall, to bolster some of their defensive need. Now I think they look to the offensive side. And, they have Garrett on the one side, split out wide. I think they could use another wide receiver there. This is where I have Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. going to the New York Jets at number 16. I think it gives them a nice young option. Has a number 2 or possibly a 1A to Garrett Wilson.
I'm thinking about that same kind of idea there, but when you think about the Jets, you do think of a certain player that they went ahead and traded over the course of last year, perhaps one of the best corners in the league in Sauce Gardner. So I think you might want to go ahead and try to replace him to the best of your ability here. And I'm going to go with the second corner of the draft here, Tennessee cornerback Jermod McCoy. Yeah.
See, and I probably would have had that here if I didn't already have him going to Dallas. That's where we defer there. To the second half of the first round here, Detroit, number 17 on the board. Let's get that offensive line back in gear. I think you start to see a run on some tackles here in the back half of the first round. We'll start that off with Detroit, who could probably use it. Utah, offensive tackle Spencer Fenno, going to Detroit here.
Gotcha. Yeah, for Detroit, I'm looking at a bunch of their different needs here. It looks like they need some secondary help. Although the offensive line, you can never have too good of an offensive line. I could definitely see an offensive line going here, but just because of how my board has kind of resulted so far, I have one kind of a blaring guy who I don't think I've said yet. And so I'm going to go with Ohio State safety Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs. So you got Caleb Downs falling all the way to 17?
Did I? I don't think I said it yet. Like I said, trades change a lot of this stuff, and
trades would change a lot. Yeah, and we're doing no trades here, so yeah, that would change some things. Number 18 overall is the Minnesota Vikings, and here is where I have a pick. Where God, if it would get to our spot, I wonder how he would do. Even though he's already spent, some pretty high draft capital on defensive secondary help over the last couple of years. Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman, who I absolutely fell in love with at the combine. I thought he was absolutely incredible. But to help a Viking secondary that's in desperate need of it, this kid he's got the same measurables as Coop, but he's faster. Like he's a freakish athlete. Again, very fluent motion. No struggle with his cuts. Tracking the ball very, very well. I watch a few Oregon games and you can see why he is definitely first round talent. I like Dylan Thieneman here, safety Oregon to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, when I picked Caleb to go to Detroit, I kind of envisioned a little bit of a run on safeties here. So for brevity's sake, I'm going to go ditto and go with Dylan as well.
Yeah, the kid's a stud. He's not he didn't wow everybody off the charts like Caleb did in the combine or whatever, but he was just so solid, dude. Like there was no struggle. Carolina Panthers come up on the board, 19th overall. I wonder when the last time they picked this low was. They've been pretty much dog shit for a while. But, I know they went out and they grabbed Jalen Phillips and they paid him a king's ransom that I certainly wouldn't have given him. But it's one guy, and like we talked about, quarterback, protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback. I think they're going to try to keep getting after the quarterback here. I like Auburn edge, Keldrick Falk here to Carolina. Nice. Another SEC.
Carolina here. I think you want to try and protect Bryce Young here. I think I only have 2 tackles going so far, so I'm going to go ahead and make that 3. I'm going to go Georgia tackle Monroe Freeling.
Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. Yeah, out of Georgia. I like it. Now the stinking ass Cowboys come up again, and again, their focus if they're not going to grab an offensive something, and they really don't need much of it. Their help is all on the defensive side of the ball. Good Lord, the only defense that was worse last year was Cincinnati. That was it, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the list. So I think they stick with the defense here. I think they go linebacker C.J. Allen, Georgia. So for the Cowboys here, I think I had them going. Can you remind me of who I had them or going? I should have written this down. Should have been writing this down, son.
I'm gonna go here. Oh, I think it wasn't Sonny Styles. Let's just go. Oh, it was Ruben Bain. I think it was Ruben Bain. I had him picking.
Yes, I think you did have Bain. Yep.
I'm not gonna have him going edge here. Let's go ahead and let's see what kind of corners are still on the board here. I already had Gerard McCoy go. I think you could see, depending on who you look at it could be seen as a little bit of a reach here. But let's go Clemson corner, Avion Terrell.
I had a feeling that's who you're going to talk about. I do think that's a reach at 20. I don't think it's a huge reach, though. Right? And when you get to this point...
It's a reach enough for the Cowboys.
Fair enough. Now we get number 21 with the Steelers. Look, I think the Steelers need to bottom out. All right, so let's just start there. Right, I think they've hovered at 8-8 or 9-8 for way too long. 8-8, 9-7, 9-8 for far too long. What happens when you do that is you're not getting any better, right? Because you always end up picking right in and around here. So you're not really getting that stud unless you want to trade a whole bunch of capital to move up and get him. And the Steelers just aren't willing to do that on a regular basis. So I don't think they're going to do it here. And again, we're sticking with no trades. Again, I'll look at it as, okay, we're not ready for a big-time quarterback right now, but how can we get ready for that, right? Same way I looked at Arizona. Let's grab an offensive tackle. Let's grab Georgia's offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling, at this spot.
You know what? I could very easily see a tackle going here as well. I'm looking at the rest of the board to see what exactly I can do here. I'm going to because every draft has one, I'm going to go with my version of this year's what the hell move. And I'm going to go Steelers picking, what's the guy's name? I just want to say it correctly. I don't want to say it wrong. Oregon tackle Kenyon Sadiq.
That's the tight end.
Yeah.
That's the tight end that I had going to Tampa. So remember, they've got Freiermuth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to double down on the tight end? I mean, look, if you got a shitty quarterback, you may as well have 2 safety outlets for him, I guess. Now we move to number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers up here. They do not need defensive help. Their defense is really good. They do not need help in the backfield of their offense. They've got that covered, no Marion Hampton, whoever the hell their number 2 is going to be. They've got their quarterback. Oh! No. All right. Now my son just walked in the door. Get him outside or something. But again, yeah, they don't need defense. They don't need a run game. They've got their quarterback. You know, I like them to add another wide receiver here. I'm going to go with Washington's Denzel Boston.
Ooh.
And yeah. So now you end up with Lad McConkey, Denzel Boston, and who was the kid out of from the Horned Frogs from a couple of years ago? And I think that might be wise, is he hasn't really panned out. He's been kind of hit or miss.
It's not Rager, is it?
No. This was I actually liked him. Quentin Johnston.
Oh,
that's it.
Him.
Yeah, it's been kind of hit or miss. And McConkey looks to be a stud. If they could hit on Boston here and say Quentin Johnston ends up working out, that is a young receiver core that you're not paying a whole lot of money, and a defense to line up with it. And I like Denzel Boston here to the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going here. It's not going to be a very sexy pick. They have done a good job of kind of building out the other areas on the team, but you can never have too much protection for your quarterback. So I'm going to actually go ahead and steal your pick earlier and go that Penn State guard. I'm not even going to try his name.
No. Vega. All right. So the moment everybody waits for, with the 23rd pick in the NFL in the 2026 NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama. Now, look, there is a strong possibility that somebody else takes him before this.
Yeah.
If I had to lay money on it, I would lay money that he's not there.
You could definitely see a trade up with the Lions here, by the way.
I agree. I think if we get within a couple of picks and Proctor's still on the board, I think Howie would move up to get him. But again, no trades. I kind of have the draft worked out. Yes, it was to favor who I wanted at our pick, but I don't think I reached anywhere for too much. And this is really who I want the Birds to get. So if he falls to this spot, that's the best option. If we have to trade up a few places to get him, yeah, I think you go ahead and do that. I love it. I will take an offensive tackle out of a major SEC school every single day and twice on Sundays. So give me Caden Proctor to the Birds at number 23.
I'm going to keep things short here. I think your rationale is perfect. This is a guy who I've talked about repeatedly on this show as, you lost Jeff Stoutland, so you don't really want to take too much of a project guy here. Caden Proctor is as the most pro-ready guy you're going to get at this stage of the draft. And this guy is so good, you might even see a trade up for Caden Proctor. So, ditto, Caden Proctor, tackle from Alabama.
Yeah, I am all in. And, since we're on this run with tackles, and I think it continues, the Cleveland Browns get back on the board here at number 24. I think this is where they look to help in that area. Who did I have them taken? Or I had them taking Cardinal Tate earlier to give them a weapon. I think this is where they grab some protection, and this is Clemson offensive tackle Blake Miller, right? Who's another guy that we had talked about on here. A little bit more of a project, but Still plenty sound enough to be a first-round pick tackle. Just sad. Sorry for him. He's going to end up in the factor of sadness.
I'm going to continue on the run of tackles here. Instead of Blake, I'm going to go with Utah tackle Caleb Lomu.
Got it. Yep. Caleb Lomu. I've got him coming up here soon. Number 25 overall, the Chicago Bears on the board after a nice season last year, but one in which I think they get a little exposed in the back end of their defense. I don't know that this is the way I would go. Again, I think, for me, the way I look at things, especially in the first few rounds, I think it takes an extra special kid if you're not from a power conference to be taken in the first round. But there's a lot of good things you hear about Toledo safety Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. And the Bears need the help desperately in that area. Caleb Downs is obviously already off the board. So let's go. Let's go Rockets. And, I think this is where Chicago goes.
Great minds think alike, and it strikes again here. I'm going to go ahead and say ditto with the Toledo safety, Emmanuel Warren.
Lou from Dade in the room. You nailed it. I'm taking a big boy from the SEC as a home run pick. It just is, man. Whether it's Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, just some big old hog molly that you don't have to teach a whole lot to. Just let them go out there and whip somebody's ass, right? And that's what Caden Proctor is. He's just a massive mountain freakish tackle who would look really good. And, like Mason and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, not to get off track here. I really want to get this first round finished up so we can wrap it up tonight. But, we did talk about a Caden Proctor who doesn't need a whole lot of like Jeff Stoutland influence, right? He's ready. Yeah. But coming to Philadelphia, he's going to sit behind Lane Johnson. Yep. Think about that, right? Think about a guy who's already that talented that then gets to learn from a guy who's likely going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame right tackle. Worth its weight in gold. If Caden Proctor is within reach, you got to go get him.
Agreed.
All right, moving to number 26, the Buffalo Billfolds, who I've been saying it for a couple of years, despite the fact that Sean McDermott's side of the ball was defense. Their defense was wildly overrated. I think they got too much credit for being coached by Sean McDermott, basically overall. Everybody looked at that's his side of the ball. They're good. I don't think they were that good, and I think they got exposed quite a bit. You can gash them in the run game, and I think they do something to try to stop that here. In this case, I've got him taking defensive lineman Caden McDonald to try to bolster the interior of their defensive line.
Not too far off. I definitely see that potentially going down there. My knee-jerk reaction here was also defense. I kind of thought it was going to be maybe more exterior, something more maybe like an edge, but I don't dislike the Caden one, to be completely honest with you. I don't want to kind of leech off you too much here, but I think that this might go ahead. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and double down and say Mr. Oh, let me get his name back again here. Miami Edge, Akeem Mesidor.
Miami Edge. What's his name?
Akeem Mesidor.
To Buffalo.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, they it's not like they don't need help to get after the quarterback too. Again, you're looking from trenches, right? We're going to try to rebuild this defense. Let's get after the quarterback. Let's bottle up the run. So either of those two guys fits, I think, very well in this spot for Buffalo. 27th overall, San Francisco.
Yep.
Look, Trent Williams may very well be he may still be the best left tackle in football. It's possible, even at his age. But his age is a factor. And you eventually have to do something about it. And I think Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu fits very nicely here with the San Francisco 49ers. I say these things the way I'm saying them just because you got to look at it, I try to be impartial when I'm giving these picks. I'm not hoping any of these teams make picks that fit their mold. I hope they all fuck them up, right? But, if I'm San Francisco, I've got some good skill position players. They obviously, Brock Purdy's their guy. They got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. Sure, they could use help in other areas, but that Trent Williams clock is ticking, and low move makes a lot of sense for him.
Yeah, I don't dislike the position. I only have Caleb Limo going a little bit earlier, so for that reason, I'm going to go with another tackle. I'm going to go Blake Miller, tackle from Clemson.
Yeah, that's right. And I had Cleveland taking him. So again, we're sticking with the run on tackles here. I mean, you look at the back half of this draft to the first round. I've already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive tackles. And that's just picks 16 through 27 or 17 through 27. So I think once you get past this certain point, people are going to be like, shit, I need a tackle. Just going to start grabbing them, right? Yep. And sticking with that theme, 28th overall, the Houston Texans. Arizona State, Max. Max. That's how we're going to say his name. Out of Arizona State. Again, it's another team that needs help getting their run game going, getting more protection for their quarterback. That quarterback may change here, right? I don't know that they're sold on Stroud at this point. He's been basically backwards since his rookie season. So, again, if you've got questions at the quarterback spot, you're not sure what that is long term. Mason and I have both said it here. Why not go get that offensive lineman so that you are ready to protect whoever your next quarterback is?
I don't dislike the rationale, but teams do have to make a little bit of different decisions here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick mine out of the hat and say Ohio State defensive tackle, Caden McDonald.
This is where you have Caden McDonald going. Yeah. I had him going 2 picks earlier to Buffalo. So, yep. With Houston in particular, their defensive front is so good. I mean, they are absolutely disruptive. And look, if you want to double down on what you already have as a strength, that is definitely one way to do it. All right, 29th overall, Kansas City Chiefs back on the board. And I had them taking safety Caleb Downs. Again, I think you had a corner there. And we kind of looked at it as, they need help in both spots, right? Corner and safety. So I think they go ahead and try to fix some of the corner here. And I think they go ahead and grab Clemson corner Avian Terrell to help on the outside.
See, I had a lot of I got my high of receivers earlier in the draft. You kind of ribbed me a little bit for that. We've had a little bit of a drought, but I think that comes to an end with Texas and wide receiver KC Concepcion.
I like KC Concepcion a lot, dude. Watching that team last year, I was a big fan. I really love what that guy can do on the field. And that is exactly why at number 30, with the Miami Dolphins back on the board, a team who does need a wide receiver, who I didn't have taking a wide receiver earlier, I think they get back on the board here at number 30, and they end up with KC Concepcion to fill a much-needed skill position spot. He can also return kicks, return punts. That kid can be a Swiss Army knife in your offense. He did it at Texas A&M. I think he's perfectly capable of doing it at the pro level. And I like that pick for Miami here at number 30.
For Miami, I have them taking a little bit of a less sexy pick, but an equally as important one. I'm going to go Arizona State tackle Max. You know that guy's
name. Yeah, right. Lou from Dade. Everyone down here wants safety. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. So look, dude, I said it. I have the Bears taking the Toledo safety.
I think we both did as well.
Yeah. We both had that. And again, I'll double down on it. Like, I think it needs to be a very special talent in order to come from a MAC conference and be picked in the first round. Now, we went out and got Cody Mitchell, and he was as advertised, right? That kid is a stud. McNeil-Warren has the opportunity to be that in a safety role. I don't think he slides all the way down to number 30. Lou, if you guys want him, I think you're going to have to move up to get him. But if you sit at number 30, and for these purposes, Lou, I know you kind of jumped in late. We did this with no trades, right? It's just like, okay, these teams are in these spots, and this is who we think they're going to take if they just stay put. But yeah, a wide receiver is a need. Yeah, he says it himself here. Wide receiver is a huge need too. Yeah, he traded Warren away. I'm sorry, Waddle away, and Hill is gone. So Yeah, you need the wide receiver too. Either one makes sense. I think you may be able to stay at number 30 and get Concepcion. I think if you want McNeil Warren as the safety, I think you may have to trade up to get him. That's just the way I look at it. That's all. And now we get to the bottom two, the two shitbags that were in the Super Bowl last year. The New England Patriots with their adulterous head coach. They've got their quarterback. I think they like their backfield. Between Stevenson and Henderson. It looks like they are going to add AJ Brown at some point. That's all the rage, right? We've beaten that to death. So why not go after some defense and get after the other team's quarterback? And this is where I have Miami edge rusher Akeem Mesidor going to the New England Patriots.
Nice. Not bad. I look at Drake May, and you see a guy who went far with, I would say, a relatively modest core around him. It was more so that everything kind of aligned up. They call it lightning in a bottle. And so in order to kind of keep that kind of production and to keep Drake May's jersey nice and clean, I'm going to go with Texas A&M guard Chase Basantes.
Not bad. Yeah. Interior defensive line. Also, interior offensive lineup also helps your run game, right? Mm-hmm. Get some help there. And then we round out the first round with the Seattle Piss Chickens. This is often a spot where teams trade out. But, could they get after the quarterback a little better than they already do? Probably. Not that they need to, but I think they probably could. They've got their stud wide receiver. They believe they have their quarterback. There's no running back outside of Jeremiah Love worth taking in the first round. So you're not looking to replace Kenny Walker here at number 32. Why not grab an edge? Why not grab Clemson edge rusher TJ Parker and have at it?
I am on the same idea regarding bumping up that defense, but as one of my favorite picks that we got this offseason was Tariq Woolen. Of course, he had to leave from somewhere, which was Seattle. And so you're not really going to find a guy with the same athletic profile as Rick Woolen. He's really a rare kind of a guy. But you can't pick his position anyway, and thus I will. I'm going to go Tennessee corner Colton Hood.
Colton Hood. So there it is. That's UnHappy in the MP looking at your first round here. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown again of the way I had it. Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders. Arvell Reese to the Jets. Francis Mauigoa to the Cardinals. Jeremiah Love to the Titans. Sonny Styles to the Giants. That's the way I had the top five. Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, Mason and I all throughout this had pretty much the same players, not always in the same spots, and for different reasons, right? Again, we didn't take trades into account here. Obviously, we know it's going to take. I do want to point out one thing that both of us stay consistent with throughout this whole thing. Now, both of us only have one quarterback going off the board in the first round, and I think that's legitimate.
It was so tempting. It was so tempting.
Especially when you look at the Steelers and teams like that, But I think it's legitimate. If Fernando Mendoza has a big season, finishes as a Heisman finalist, and loses the national championship, he's probably not the odds-on number one overall pick. But when you throw the Heisman and the title in there, a Title I at a school, and this is something else I brought up last week when I was talking about him, not just winning a national title, you won it as the quarterback at fucking Indiana, right? Like, it's not like you were the quarterback at the Buckeyes or the Tide or the Hurricanes or the Trojans or Michigan or something like that. Right. This is Indiana. This is a basketball school by and large. And he's the leader of the team that just won the national championship at Indiana. And that's got to count for something too. So, in a weak quarterback draft, he is easily the shining star of the quarterbacks. but I don't think there's another quarterback worth taking in the first round. And that includes Ty Simpson. That includes Beck. That includes Drew Aller. The whole lot of them. I just don't see it. I think Mendoza is the only one. And if the Raiders aren't picking number one, who the hell knows where that kid ends up? But the Raiders at number one, needing the quarterback, it's Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Of course, I didn't write down mine, so it was a very fun exercise in how sharp is your memory and your recall. Nonetheless, we did really stay within the overton window of each other. Didn't really go too far off. Although looking back at it, when you brought up Pat Frymuth already being at Pittsburgh, the smart decision probably would have been to take another player, but I couldn't appear weak and too much. So a man has to double down at some times in his life, and so therefore I did. But with that said, I have no regrets. I think that's exactly how the draft's going to go.
There you go. All right. There's your first round, folks. So we're going to wrap it up here. Friday night. I will be live from the Midwest Eagles Nest at the Back Porch Saloon, starting at probably about 6:30. And we're going to take you into the beginning of the second round. Probably be on for an hour and a half. I've got 4 to 5 people that are going to kind of hop in the passenger seat right next to me and give their birds opinions. This is Eagle fans that I hang out with out here. We'll let them give their opinions. I figure if I can get 10 minutes out of 4 or 5 people, it's less talking I have to do. Right? But we'll be live there on Friday night, again, starting at about 6:30. So you'll see that post come out. And then Mason and I will be right back here again next week to talk about draft recap, where we went right, where we went wrong, where some teams succeeded, where some teams were complete idiots. And, we're hoping that the Giants and Cowboys are in the idiot bracket, right? Go ahead and screw up those 4 first-round picks between the two of you. I am here for it. Mason, you got anything to say on the way out?
Not much. Listen, when it comes to Eagles football, we are extremely lucky to have a general manager like Howie Roseman, especially in this era of the Howie. You could say that in the latter half of the 2010s, it was a little bit shaky. It was up and down. You had guys like Jalen Reagor, who was mostly a Jeffrey Lurie guy. We also had a guy like Andre Dillard. I know I bring up Nick Terrors.
Big pudding.
However, after 2020, we've had a remarkable turnaround in draft success. We have taken many guys like Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Devontae Smith, Jahad Campbell is even looking good, and of course Quinyon Mitchell. So while we like to go ahead and scavenge all types of news and mock drafts and do our own separate scouting, and Howie we trust. This is a guy who
Always.
I've called for head on pike multiple times, and I have been proven wrong. But so for that reason, I've had egg on my face one too many times. So I've learned my lesson. And so ultimately, as much as I would love Caden Proctor, if Howie Roseman does have insider knowledge that we don't have, he knows something about the kid that no one else does, there's a reason why he may or may not pick him. So ultimately, in Howie we trust.
That's it. And there's no shortage of tackles. Very skilled offensive tackles littered all over this first round, no matter which way you put them in the draft. We have them in the order that we think they're going to go. I'm sure everybody's got their own thoughts. I would like Caden Proctor, but there's no shortage of them. I just think like Mason talked about, like I've talked about, like we've talked about together, Jeff Stoutland not being in the same capacity, I don't think you're really in a spot to take a guy who's a project, right? Albeit you should have at least a year with Lane still in front of him. You'd really rather have a guy like a Proctor who's ready to just step in. But that'll wrap it up, folks. Catch me again on Friday night live from the Midwest Eagles Nest at the Back Porch Saloon starting at about 6:30. We'll have my son Liam is planning to come on and give his thoughts. Dave Thompson, who's been on with us before, we call him Dad in our group. He's going to come on and share some thoughts. Our friend Roger will come on and give his insight, and John Lynch, who always loves to jump in whenever he's got the opportunity. he's going to hop on and give us some of his. Not that John Lynch. It's my guy out
Yeah, I
here.
was about
Good
to
dude.
say.
He's going to hop in and give some thoughts too, and then we'll see if we can't talk somebody else into jumping in for a few minutes as well. Should be a fun night for rounds 2 and 3. We'll go for about an hour, hour and a half. Then we'll shut it down, sit back, throw a few back, and watch rounds 2 and 3 and hope the birds don't fuck it up. Next week, Mason and I will be back to hopefully share our draft success, and hopefully we get a break from A.J. Brown. But until then,
God
folks,
willing.
right, get on through your week. Enjoy the draft. Again, if you're anywhere approaching my age, get home from work, take a nap on Thursday night, because you're probably going to need it if you want to stay up for the birds pick. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Remember, folks, the judge is not back in till Monday. And as always, Mason,
Go Birds.
go Birds.